Hey guys, welcome back to another great game of CDH. Today we have a cool game I played the other day at Games IRL in Avon, Connecticut. They just opened their new location and I had to check it out. It was pre-release weekend, so you know I had to show up with something new and spicy, but I won't spoil anything just yet. Also, have you heard the news? Your favorite CDH YouTube channel has released some cool merch. And if you're interested in picking up some sweet new apparel, come check us out. Also, if you like what you see, consider joining our Patreon, as with your help, we can keep producing the videos you enjoy. And if you want to play with us, hop on our Discord. We have an ever-growing community that loves to talk MTG, or whatever else strikes our fancy. And we would love to meet new people. Alright, block there, kill that. Oh, that is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board. First up is MTG Loots on Slicer. This is a mono-red Voltron stax list. It aims for a fast slicer to get an early hit in and really start the pain. It uses a combination of stax pieces to slow your opponents down and an equipment package to give you some needed card advantage. As for Slicer, even if your opponent controls it, you control the equipment. So that handy Sword of Fire and Ice will deal 4 damage and draw you 2 cards. With Slicer having the ability to attack 4 times each go-around, the game will definitely end quickly if no one has an answer. Next up is Rob, piloting Kess. This is Kess Control, and is exactly what it sounds like. It's a slower take on Kess, meant to excel in more grindier metas. It still runs all that Grixis good stuff, such as Thassa's, Breach, Intuition piles, but also runs sweet cards such as Nosen Thief and Oppo Agent. In the third spot, we have Hidden Planet X, with Etali, Primal Conqueror. And yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. The Dino is here for some CDH. I'm borrowing the list from one of our Discord members, the Papa Squats, and I love just jamming mana dorks and casting a very big Dino. This is a Dockside Flicker combo list, as you can loop the Dino in to cast everything in your opponent's deck, and worst comes to worst, just flip your commander and win with a Blightsteel Colossus. And bringing up the rear is Fernando playing Evelyn, the Covetous. And while I originally dismissed it, this deck is fast, lean, and powerful. It actually has a turn 1 World Gorger combo win with Evelyn, which is insane. And when you also have Underworld Breach and Thassa's as backup win cons, this deck is always a threat. But without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay. Loot starts off the game with a mountain and decides to really gamble with the gamble. He finds a card and Hidden has to randomly discard a Rite of Flames. And he then ends his turn with a Mana Crypt. Rob plays an Underground River and passes. Hidden also likes playing it risky as he casts a gamble of his own. He finds and then has Loots randomly discard a Circle of Dreams Druid. Hidden then follows this up with a Mox Diamond and then discards a Misty Rainforest, using the Mox to cast an Allosaurus Shepherd. Fernando plays a City of Brass and has a Mox Diamond of his own. He discards a Fledstrand and casts a very disappointing Mystic Remora. Loots is safe from his crypt and plays a Command Beacon. He casts a Seething Song and then feeds a card to Fernando. He gains 5 red and uses 3 of it to cast the backside of Slicer. Fernando draws and Loots then follows this up with a Mask of Memories, giving Fernando his 3rd card off of his fish. Luckily though, Loots has 1 more mana left and equips the Slicer before heading to combat. Slicer heads at Hidden, who doesn't want to chump just yet, and Slicer connects and triggers the Mask to draw Loots 2 cards and discard 1. Ending his turn flipping Slicer. Rob gets Slicer, plays a Training Center, and a Fellwar Stone. He gives a card to Fernando and then heads to combat. And it looks like a card isn't the only thing Fernando is getting, as Slicer turns sideways and connects with Fernando. Due to the double strike, Loots actually gets to trigger the Mask twice, drawing 2, discarding 1, and then repeating the process again. Hidden untabs and gains Slicer. He plays an Exotic Orchard as land and casts an Outbound Liberator. Hidden then immediately sacrifices the Liberator to destroy Slicer, although Loots tries to get him to make at least 1 more attack before the robot's destroyed. But the only thing attacking this time is Hidden's Allosaurus Shepherd, as he heads at Loots for a mighty 1 damage. Fernando lets his fish go and plays a Mana Conflux as land. He casts a Lotus Petal and ends his turn with a Ragavan. Loots is safe from his crypt and casts a Desperate Ritual. He uses 1 of his red to help cast an Imperial Recruiter. He finds a Magus of the Moon, but shortcuts as he bolts himself to play a Shatter Skull, the Hammer Pass, and uses his remaining mana to cast the Magus. And at his end step, Fernando fires off a Brain Freeze with Storm Count 3, milling himself for 12 and notably milling his World Gorger Dragon. Rob plays a Flooded Mountain and taps 2 for a Grim Monolith. Hidden plays a Grove of the Mountains and taps 1 for a Mana Vault. Fernando untaps and starts looking at graveyards. He's hurting from the Magus and heads to combat. He sends the Ragavan at Rob, who takes the hit and exiles a Mana Drain, with Fernando gaining the much-needed treasure. On his second main, he plays a Verdant Mountain and casts Final Fortune to take an extra turn. Fernando then moves to his extra turn and heads straight into combat. He sends the Monkey back at Rob, who exiles an Arid Mesa off the top. It's now or never, so Fernando casts a Mnemonic Betrayal, to which Rob fires off a Red Elemental Blast. And Fernando is even quicker as he pays 2 life to Mental Misstep it. The Betrayal resolves and Fernando starts ritualing off Luce's bin. He gets himself a total of 5 red and decides the only way forward is to gamble. He starts looking through his library and totally secretly grabs an Underworld Breach, which would be a win. Fernando has a 1 in 4 chance of discarding it, and with Lutz rolling the dice, he discards it, and I guess luck just wasn't in his favor, with Fernando heading to his end step and losing the game due to the Final Fortune. Lutz loses his Crypt Trigger and plays a Tabernacle at Pendril Mountain. 2 mana then gets him an Umezawa's Jitte, and Lutz then equips the Recruit, with both the Jitte and the Mask. He heads to combat and sends a Recruiter at Rob. Lutz connects and gains 2 counters on the Jitte. He draws 2 and discards off the Mask, ending his turn removing a counter to kill Hidden's Shepherd. Rob has a quick turn, just playing a Steam Mountain and passing. Hidden casts a Mana Crypt and has enough to cast his commander, Etali, who on ETB exiles each player's library till they reveal a non-land card. Hidden reveals a Red Elemental Blast, Rob a Chain of Vapor, and Lutz exiles a Prying Blade. Hidden casts the Prying Blade and the Chain of Vapor, choosing to bounce his tap Mana Vault, with Hidden ending his turn, recasting his Vault. Lutz is safe from his crypt and casts his Soul Ring. Lutz then heads to combat and sends his Recruiter back at Rob. Lutz is in dig mode as he gains 2 more counters on the Jitte and activates its Mask. He's not happy with what he found, and on his second main he casts a Blood Moon. Rob gambles and finds a card. He randomly discards a Vampiric Tutor, following that up with a Wheel of Fortune.
Damn, gamble into wheel, that's all red, baby.
The wheel resolves, and Rob ends his turn with a Xander's Mountain. Hidden untaps and is safe from his crypt. He has a basic forest and casts a Jessica's Will. Luckily, Lutz has a fresh grip of 7, and Hidden exiles the top 3 of his library. He decides to just go for it and pays 9 mana and 2 life to flip his commander.
Holy hell, he just cast a 9 mana Dino in front of your CDH deck. Do something.
The commander flips, and Hidden follows it up with a Tail Swipe on the Magus. Originally, I was going to take out Lutz, but realized the Blood Moon was really holding Rob down. And in hindsight, I probably should have killed the Recruiter to make Lutz spend more mana to re-equip. Hidden then equips his Dino and heads to combat, swinging his Blightsteel at Rob for lethal infect.
Alright, 1 sec.
You gotta brainstorm at least.
He can't cast.
Yeah, what am I gonna do? Cast a brainstorm off red mana?
There's a blood.
There's a fucking
Blood Moon.
Oh, there's both? Yeah.
Hidden then ends his turn with a Destiny Spinner. Lutz is safe from his crypt and plays a Plaza of Mountains as land. Lutz unfortunately is now struggling with his own Blood Moon, as he had wanted to crack his beacon to get his Slicer back, and instead he casts and equips a Sword of Fire and Ice, following that up with a Commander's Plate and a Lightning Greaves, equipping the Greaves and passing after that.
I gotta protect against this trample, this fucking, what is it got?
It's a 12-11
It's got infect,
Yeah. It's a.
but I can't get through.
Hidden untabs and is safe from his crypt. They double check how Trample works against protection, and Hidden then heads to combat. He sends his 12-power Dino at Lutz, who blocks with his Recruiter. But before damage, Hidden channels a Beseiju to destroy the sword and get Lutz a mountain. Lutz then looks at the top card of his library and doesn't have an answer to the indestructible Dino, and lets it through, giving Hidden the double infect Dino victory. Man, I was on the edge of my seat that game. At first, I thought it was going to be Slicer. Then Fernando started going off. Then the Jit take came out. I wasn't sure who was going to win this game. Although I honestly thought Rob was going to find a way to kill the Magus and just combo off. But he never had the chance. Lutz did say he misplayed as he had a removal spell on the Etali before she flipped. Although that was right before the wheel happened, and Hidden was actually holding a deflecting swat at the time. So all in all, this was a win for the Dinos. I do want to thank the players and Games IRL for having us. And as a reminder, I am a community ambassador for Monarch Media. And while I can't say anything just yet, they are back and ready to create quality CDH tournaments and events. So if you're interested in finding out more, check the links down below, and I'll catch you guys later.